Okay, welcome to the living room. It is Wednesday, the 25th of October. What's occurring? How's everyone doing? How's your week been? I obviously feel free to unmute whenever anything that's come up for you, anything that you want to have answered or other people look at, feel free to share either in the chat or by putting up your hand, whatever you want to do, or just unmuting. I will say that for the first 10 to 15 minutes, I would love to teach on something that I think is going to be useful in terms of a sales and marketing thing. So after the 15 minutes, we can then just free fall it and ask questions and kind of take it from there. If that sounds agreeable to everyone. Okay, good. So today's topic this is kind of born out of a few conversations I've had with people around the concept of at what stage do we start selling? Like at what point in a relationship does it move from marketing or like talking, whatever you want to call it? It is marketing. Whenever you're out in the world with your face talking about what you do, that's your marketing too. So when does it change? Marketing, sales, marketing. Is it the same thing? Is it different things? You know, this whole thing. And it's a really good question, because from the prospect's point of view, they don't care. They don't care where they are in the process. That's not a thing that even occurs to their brain, if that makes sense. If you've had an experience that's been a wonderful buying experience where you've paid money and received something, you probably were not aware of what stage in the process you were in. It just moved along. And then you bought something and you felt delighted and you were like, awesome. I've now got this thing that I had an idea about in June. Now I own it, or I have it, or I've used it, is great. So knowing that your clients just don't care about that at all. It's not something that's even on their mind, unless they are a marketer. And I'm not sure how many of your clients are marketers. So what can you do? Like, how do we show up for them? How do we help them in the process in a way that's very smooth, in a way that's kind of easy? And this will look different depending on your process. So for you and your people, and the way that they like to buy, the way you like to sell, believe me, you have to like the way that you sell as well for long term. I love that we're all about buyers. I'm all about your clients, and I love that. But also, when you're growing your business beyond 5 people to 50, if you want to, if that's where you want to go, you have to love your process, and it has to be a process that can be repeated over and over. It doesn't break when more people come into it. So for just an example, I'll use my business as an example to give you to kind of bring it back down into reality. My process now is very simple for me. I'm like, you can go do the legwork, essentially. Like and I've gotten there after 4 years. Believe me, I did all of the legwork for the first 3.5 years or 3 years. I was doing all of the legwork. I was doing all the heavy lifting for them. I was creating all of the content. I was putting out loads and loads of stuff. I was inviting people to everything I did all of the blipping time. Honestly, that's a lot of heavy lifting. And it's necessary at some points in your business to do the legwork. And sometimes we just don't want to do the legwork. We're like, oh, my legs are tired. I don't want to do the legwork of sending 1,000 DMs. Yeah, it sounds awful, doesn't it? It is awful. I've done it. It's so unfun. But it's the necessary legwork, quite literally legwork, that positions you in their mind. But it's not something I could continue, just me, or that I'd have any desire to continue now in my life and like my circumstances now, because I have children and I don't want to do that. So it's like, it's easy now for me to have a process that's very easy on me to say, this is how it works. Step 1, 2, 3, you go away, think about it, come back when you're ready. That works for me because I don't have to do any legwork. It's brilliant. But I've already done the legwork. So it's like, where do you want the work? This is the question. Do you want it up front? Or do you want to have it ongoing or after? It's totally up to you. But you will have to pay those dues at some point if you want to make the money. This is unfortunate because we don't want to. We're just like, oh, just tell me the process that works. That doesn't mean sending 1,000 messages or connecting with 1,000 people or like making a ton of offers. And if anyone tells you there's a workaround, they are not being truthful with you. I promise you that. AI is great. I love it. You still have to do the legwork. Mental legwork or physical or like whatever. So having a sales process that's easy for you is really, really important. It's got to be easy for your customer, of course. It also has to be easy for you. So it's simple for you in your business to grow. So you don't have like, I don't know, 50 to 100 people that you have to spend until midnight direct messaging. I don't like to spend my life like that. I've done that bit. Was not that fun. But I know without a shadow of a doubt, if I hadn't done that part, I wouldn't be able to do this part. I wouldn't be the person that is able to do this part. So interesting. So marketing and sales is the same thing. It really is the same thing. It's just you being in front of a person and teaching them stuff, helping them see things differently, educating them on a problem, showing them how you can help, like actually demonstrating how you help, getting social proof of how you help. That's all sales. It really is. It's all the same thing. So how do we take this concept and just plug it into actually actions that you can take every day? What does it look like? So a couple of questions that had me thinking about this was this kind of direct outreach method. So people do, and I like direct outreach. I've done a bunch of it before. There's a way of doing it that's nice, and there's a way of doing it that's not so nice for your customer. Remember, we don't like, it's got to be okay for you. You have to suck it up and do it sometimes. It's not going to be the most enjoyable part of your day necessarily. But if you can find a way to enjoy it, that is a double plus, because then you won't be doing something you despise to do, because that's not cool. So like if you're sending a bunch of messages out to people, if you're prospecting, if you're generating leads in any way, how do you take the conversation from so nice to meet you in chat, what are you up to today, to, hey, would you like to have a conversation about something? That's like going from zero, quite literally, just met a person on LinkedIn. Let's say we're just adding connections. You add a bunch of connections and maybe you send them a message and say, thanks for connecting. What's going to position you differently in their mind to the other 100 messages they get on a weekly basis from people pitching them stuff? What have you responded to in your LinkedIn inbox that has been a cold outreach? Maybe that's a good question. Can you think of anything? Was there anyone that sent you a message? Tasha's like, no. Absolutely not. So good. And maybe I'm not a good example of this because I like to respond to people because I'm fascinated with what they're going to say. So don't use me as an example. I want you to use you as an example. Like, what did you reply to that made you, that genuinely like piqued your interest and you're like, huh, I will talk to this person. Can you give me an example? Is this something you guys do? Or do you just ignore them? Yeah.
I got an email inbox message in LinkedIn from a guy who's running like a interior designer group for a networking group for interior designers, and he asked me to join. And he was also really nice because he said to me, if there's anyone you want me to put you in contact with, just give me a shout and I'll do you an intro. And so I did join his group immediately. But I get a lot of photo retouches, and I respond to them, but I just say no, thank you. But yeah, if it's relevant, that was a really good one. I thought he was very on point for me. I explained I'm not an interior designer and I'm an artist. I'm looking to hook up with interior designers and get them on board. And he was really keen. So that was a really good and positive message. And it was just what I need, actually, because I do need to network with interior designers. So it was very on point.
Yeah. So did you hear what you said about, so what can you use from that experience? What do you know about your clients so you can show up like that?
He offered to help me. So it was straight in there with, if you need it, need to put you in contact with anyone, just let me know. So I think that was the pull for me, just offering to help me.
Yeah, and it was something you needed. So what do you think he'd done in the background? Do you think he'd literally sent out 1,000 messages? He could have, I don't know. Do you think that he spent time looking at stuff? What do you think? What's your guess?
I know you looked at my profile, because you can see, can't you, that he's been looking at my profile. So he'd obviously looked at my profile and seen that I was probably a small business starting out, could do with some networking. And that's what he offered. So yeah, targeting.
Yeah. So good. Any other thoughts on that? Is this helping you see something that you may have missed in, and this doesn't have to be direct messaging either. It can be in your content too. It's the same. So the method of it is irrelevant, whether it's a direct message or it's a marketing message to lots of people. It's got to be more personal. Sorry, yeah, go, Natasha.
And it's just giving them something that they really genuinely need, isn't it? So, for example, your idea about the offices, like that people work with productivity, people, HR managers, people that are looking for productivity might like my artwork, because it's definitely something that I feel that they might need. So rather than just offer random people my artwork, people that are into productivity, are into, sorry, I've got a chicken in the garden, holistic kind of solutions, like people that, want to work in mindful offices and all of that kind of thing, might pick up on my artwork. So for example, I'm looking at targeting interior designers, not just who are interior designers, but people that work in environmental psychology, people that want to make happy and healthy spaces, because it's exactly what my message is. So it fits exactly with their message.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, so you're like, I see I see your intention, I see your values and what matters to you, and this is a match for you. I think it's a match. Does that make sense? You're not like plowing on in being like, you need this and here's why. That kind of, not even the words, but that feeling we get. Sometimes you have that when people approach you and it's very bossy. It's very much like, I've done this. I've taken the liberty of looking at XYZ and you need to do this. That never works, by the way. It might work sometimes for some people. Otherwise, they would not do it. They would stop doing it. But in my experience, it's not a great sales hook, because puts people off a little bit. Yeah, so like, this is a match. Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting you say that, Meg, because in my misspent corporate youth, for lack of a better term, right, we were trained on a concept called the challenger sale. And at the very highest level, the challenger sale says, first, you have to knock the prospective client off their ass to say, you've got this problem, this problem, this problem. But I want you to know that it's okay because other people have these problems. You're not alone, but I have the solution that can aid you, which when I went through that, it was just very off-putting. I didn't like it, right? I understood the data behind it in terms of it could be more effective in some cases, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. And why didn't you like it, do you think? What made you not like it?
I didn't like it because I would rather build a bridge and have people come with me to say that I want to go on this journey with you, versus to your point that I'm going to tell you what your problem is and then how to fix it. I almost feel like it's more the difference between selling via coaching versus selling via consulting, right? Where, if you're selling via consulting, right, you're going to say, all right, I know what the answer is, and let me first tell you what your problem is, right? Versus selling via coaching, which is much more collaborative and warm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think it's like a common misconception that you have to, I don't know, like I've been on so many sales trainings where they literally taught you how to focus on the problem and then make people feel terrible about the problem, so you can sweep in as the hero. Right? So you can be like, ta-da, here's why I'm amazing. And I don't love it either. I think anything that makes people feel bad so you can make them feel good is manipulative. Quite honestly, it is manipulative. It's very much like an emotional manipulation. Who's to say it's right or wrong? It works for some people. It works as a sales mechanism. It's not how I like to position myself, and it's definitely not how I would like my prospects to feel. But it's very much like they did what worked. It worked a bunch. We get to choose now as owners of companies, because we're not within an organization that's teaching us stuff. We just get to choose the way, which is really fun, how we want our prospects to feel throughout the entire. We don't get to decide that, of course. We just get to decide and own what we do. And some people will love it, and some people will think it's terrible, and some people will be somewhere in between. It's fine. But yeah, I think it's such a good point, because I think last week we talked about this concept and this idea of like being a ferocious salesperson. Fierce. I just want the word fierce in there. And it doesn't mean aggressive or combative. Is that how you say it? Combative? I never know how to say that word.
Yeah, combative works, right? I would say adversarial. That's how I would describe it. Exactly.
And I was just on a very interesting discussion just now about this. It's like it's when you think there's two sides, you're instantly in opposition, and it does feel like a battle of skill, battle of talking, who's got the best argument, who's got the, it immediately creates the duality. Doesn't have to be like that, but that's just the traditional sales thing that we're taught. You're on this side, they're on this side of the table, and that works. That's how humans interact. It's usually one person here, one person there, stuff in between. That is how humans are. But you're actually talking about a third thing in the middle. The thing in the middle that you're talking about is what your client wants. It's not to do with them as a person. It's not to do with you as a person, really. You're talking about the thing that you guys are going to do together, whether it's the product they want, who they want to be, the result they want. So it's kind of like in traditional sales training, people don't talk about the third silent party, which is the result. And when you focus both on that, so much easier. So much easier. It's not a he said, she said, or they said this, I said this. It's like, no, you guys just didn't agree on, there was something that wasn't in agreement about the result. The getting of the result, what the actual result is. Sometimes your clients are just like, don't know what I want. You're like, okay, well, do you want me to help you? I don't know. Okay, that's fine. Like sometimes we just don't know what we want, and that's also fine. Well, I'm assuming when you have someone talking to you, maybe it's on an initial conversation, there's a reason they have booked the conversation. You don't know what the reason is. Maybe you have a form and you ask them. They may not tell you. Usually they don't, especially if they want to buy. They especially don't tell you if they want to buy something. So like you can put all of the things in place to find out that information, but essentially you won't know until you're on the call or in the meeting. But you assume at some point there's a reason. You just need to figure out what the reason is. So you can just very much ask them. So glad we're having this conversation. Like, what made you book the call? Even if it's like an introductory talk. Let them tell you. So it's the same whether it's a DM, it's the same whether it's a meeting, it's the same whether it's a piece of content you write. It's all the same. So when we get into our heads being strange about, oh, I've got to post, or oh, I've got to send a message, or oh, I'm going to have a call, what do I say? Or I'm in a networking meeting, how do I say this thing? It's never the mechanism that's the problem. So I have people telling me all the time, I hate social media. I will not do this. I will not do that. I will never do X, Y, Z. And I'm like, okay, fascinating. Tell me why. Because it's not the medium that's a problem. It's not the social media channel. Oh, I hate Facebook. It's awful. Like people tell me that all day long. I hate Instagram. Like, why? What happened? Why? How did you guys get to this point in your relationship? Instagram's great. But something happens in our brains when we're like, it feels very different than when we're in front of someone in a room or in front of someone virtually, and we build up something that's happened in between. It's nothing to do with that. It's just something in yourself that feels like, I don't know what to say, or I don't know how this is going to sound. Usually, in my experience of people who refuse to go on video, never, they were like, I'll never do a live stream. Ever, ever, ever. I was like, okay, don't. You don't have to.
Do you think, Meg, that gets into the comfort level with the arena that you're playing in? So I'll use myself as an example, right? So I'm predominantly on LinkedIn. In fact, I could say that I'm almost exclusively on LinkedIn in terms of my business, right? I have a Facebook account. I don't use it for my business. I honestly don't use it that much, period, right? Just because I'm not a big fan, right? I've tried Instagram. Nope. I've tried X. Nope. Never tried TikTok. Not gonna, right? And maybe that's just me at my age of life and my season of life in terms of what works and what doesn't for me. Is it just, the comfortability with the forum or the arena that you're playing in?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the comfort level. And why? And then my next question is, but like, we're in business. Comfort's great, but you've got to have the fine line between I'm comfortable here and it's working amazing, I'm going to stay here because it's working and I love it. And you don't even have to do anything on this question, but like, why do I not feel comfortable in XYZ? What did I feel, or what was I fearing when I did XYZ? Just for your own information. Because I'm a big proponent of just do one thing and do it really, really well. Because otherwise you just be scattered with all the things. So it's like, what works for you? If it's networking and LinkedIn, have at it all day long. Do what's working and double down on what's working until you're a master of what's working. That is brilliant. Do not spread yourself into like 5 different arenas to learn them. I mean, why? Literally, there's no point if the thing is already working. But it's just an interesting kind of, as a business person, to know yourself fully and to be like, I know why I have this feeling about Instagram. And believe me, I've been like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Again, I'm not going to do TikTok because I do not have the mental capacity to learn how. Right now, I'm like, no, it's not going to be something I want to learn. I don't want to teach it. I can't be bothered. Quite literally, I can't be bothered. So like, it's fine. Just choose what works and know why it works, and then just go all in on it. And then when you have more mental space freed up because you've learned something, then you can play around if you want to. I'm just always fascinated by my clients who come to me with a very set, I will never do this, and this is the reason why. I'm always really curious about that. So I'm just like, tell me why. Like, did you try it? What happened? What did you feel when you tried it? Did something happen that you did not like? You know, all of those things is just useful. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does answer the question. I think to bring it back to the top, which is, how do you know when to transition from casual discussion to sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to a lot of this discussion, even the adversarial system that we were talking about earlier, right? A lot of that's predicated on get to a yes or no quickly, right? Don't leave things in the realm of maybe, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess for what I'm doing right now, which is I'm having a lot of conversations on LinkedIn Messenger, some going well, some building rapport, whatnot, that's part of what I'm trying to figure out, which is, at what point do you say, hey, do you want to jump on a Zoom for a one-on-one, right? Do you want to jump on Zoom for a shoot the shit introductory chat, right? And a lot of that is feel. I get that, right? How do you develop that feel muscle?
It's a really good question. So I think it just has to be, it's like part intuition, it's part strength of relationship, it's part like making a ton of mistakes and it being wrong and getting it wrong badly over and over again. So if it makes you feel any better, I have had people cut me off, send me messages back, rude messages back. I've had the bunch. I've had people block me. That's awesome. That feels awful, by the way. You're like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person. So you just have to be like, I'm going to mess up. It's going to be fine. Some people will love it. Some people will be like, that guy sucks. We're in business. We're not in the business of pleasing people. We're in the business of business. Your clients are in the business of looking for a solution. So sometimes short and sharp is great because it's like, hey, listen, this is what I do. If you're moved to book a call, I would love to have that conversation. Done. One message, done. I love one message because I don't like to waste people's time and I really don't like to waste my time. But then I love to build relationships too. So it's a very personal thing. How do your people like to interact with you? I just don't like to have lots and lots of ongoing long conversations because I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I have lots of friends. I don't need some more friends on LinkedIn. I would like some more clients. If you want to come and work with me, that would be awesome. If you want to just hang out, we can hang out. But you have to decide for you. This is a really kind of like an impossible question to answer unless you kind of prepared to just do a bunch of it and see what happens, essentially.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that answer. I was hoping for something better, but I was expecting that answer.
It's expecting me to be like, okay, here's what to do. And again, knowing your style and knowing yourself as a business owner is very helpful. I'm very much I want to know up front. I don't want to play around. I'm just that person. I'm very decisive, and I decide and I see it and I do it. And I don't ask people for their advice ever. Not even my husband, especially not him. He's like, why don't you want my advice? Like, oh, okay, give it to me. But your clients might not be like that. You might not be like that. So just do what you think is normal for you. Do you like to have like a couple of exchanges? Like, think about your friends. What would you say to, like, okay, well, let's go out next Thursday. You know, like, how would you just be normal to a human on the street? What would you say? It's very much that thing. I was given a really good example of this. Gosh, I can't remember where. It's like, you wouldn't walk into like a room full of people and go up to like the bar and talk to a person and say, whatever you're saying in the first, like, well, hello. So my name is Meg Roundell Green. And as you can see, I am a business and sales coach. So my question to you today would be, like, humans don't speak like this. You would probably be like, oh, hey, I really like your shoes. That's what I would say, because I would always look at people's shoes. And they might be like, oh, thanks. So what would you say if you were walking up to the bar in some like networking conference and you saw someone, you were like, they look like an interesting person to speak to. They could be a potential partner or client. What would you say? Human to human, and just do the same on LinkedIn. It's by far the easiest way of thinking about it.
What,
yeah, I'm sorry. Go on, Natasha.
No, it was just a very small point. It was just to say that quite often I go in with, I've been really enjoying your content lately. It's really resonated with me. I feel like maybe we've got a lot in common, so I'd love to present my work. I do go, and that's true, that's genuine. That is because their content does resonate with me. So yeah. I think there's a lot of, people can also feel when it's genuine, can't they? And I mean, obviously, maybe if you're not an expert salesperson, but I think there has to be like a point of genuineness really for people to buy, because, you know, I'm not talking about big corporates here, a buyer from a big corporate. I'm talking about other independent business owners. So if it doesn't resonate, if they don't really feel like you can give them the results they want, and that really resonated with me, that point about focusing on the results. I think that's something that I've definitely been missing out on.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's such a good point, because people know that we have spidey sense. We're humans. We have spidey senses of, I don't believe this person, and we don't know why. I get like, how many messages in my LinkedIn a day? 25 sometimes, from people who've not looked at my name. And then they're like, I think your business needs this. I'm like, do you though? Do you know? No. So yeah, genuine, like looking, being like, I think we could work together in some way.
So it's interesting you bring this up in terms of speak to a person like you would speak to them on the street or speak to them at the bar and whatnot, right? Because actually tomorrow morning I'm attending as a guest a local networking group here in the Atlanta area, which is the exact opposite in terms of you better have your 30 to 60-second elevator pitch ready, right? And so balancing between those two styles of communication, where my default is much more casual, much more laid back, right? Versus, all right, I got to be short, I got to be concise, I got to be punchy, right? And being able to put yourself in the right mindset with the right role, right? That's work. There's work there.
Oh, for sure. It's work. Yeah. Because, and like, I've just had this experience myself. I've just come off of a networking call. And we had 2 minutes to talk about ourselves and our businesses instead of the usual 60 seconds. And the most effective, because I was watching all the faces in the Zoom room, to see how effective the messages were across the panel. Because you can tell when people are bored because they're like this. So the most effective ones were stories, client story, relatable client, basically a relatable client story that was tailored to the people in the room. By far the best. She was excellent. She was like, this is relevant because of this. You may not have thought about this because of X. But it was great. And everyone was like, ooh, and like chatting and asking the questions. And then the ones that did not resonate were the, like, dare I say, rehearsed. This is my business. This is the and just like that kind of, this is what I deliver. And you could tell she was bored by it herself. I could tell. I was like, you said this 5,000 times and it doesn't, you don't enjoy this anymore, was what I got from that. So it was just very interesting to know, like, people just want to be engaged. They're like rooting for you to be interested in you. They really are. They want you to want to tell them. And like, people are very kind. And it's almost like, you don't have to have a 30 to 60 second elevator pitch. You don't have to. You can just share something. Be like, today I would like to talk about my client, this person, even someone who's not paid you money, but who you've had a conversation with. So yeah, but it is work. You have to prepare. You have to know your client. You have to know your target. You have to know what matters to them. Otherwise, you can just be way off course sometimes. So it is a hard one, and you have to like put in the legwork for that. Yeah. Joe, what's going on in your mind today? Let's have some words from you.
Words. Well,
No,
really,
not words.
I'm just soaking everything in. And like you're saying about the pitch, I know I have tried some different things. I'm still trying to work on what I'm going to do in these networking things, because sometimes I say I'm going to do something different, and then because of being indecisive, all of a sudden I go and I don't have anything to say. But it does really resonate when you have something else that's not rehearsed, like even if it's just a little tidbit, like where I talked about someone who, yeah, I get conversations with people where they say, oh, email marketing doesn't work, or direct mail doesn't work. And then it's like, I say, well, how many times have you sent those out? And they'll say once. And and then 80% of the conversions come between 5 and 20 touch points. So sending them out once is not going to get very much results. And so by bringing that up, then it actually created like a little bit of conversation, and they listened to it, where if you just spew out your rehearsed pitch, you definitely get the bored look, right?
That's so good. Yeah. Have you had a networking thing the last week where you tried that? Was that a recent one?
Yeah, it was like last week when I tried that. Yeah. And you get responses and conversation, or you get evidence that they were listening, right? Like they said, oh, just like Joe said, it's like, yeah, that's, so it gets the point across. My problem is I gotta plan that ahead and figure out what I'm gonna do this week, for example.
Yeah. So I think we had some actions as well for accountability from last week. Does anyone want to share their updates or thoughts, or like, it didn't happen because of X, or it did happen and I'm pleased? Anything come up for you?
I can't remember what mine were.
I think you were going to have some more conversations.
Yeah, Natasha's ready to talk.
Go ahead, Joe. It's fine. I can wait. No
Okay.
problem.
So yeah, I've Yeah, so I was looking at my schedule for the week and it was really, really light on conversations, but then all of a sudden it just got really busy like today and tomorrow. Um, and I did have some really good conversations yesterday. Not client wise, but more like how to get more out of your networking. And I don't know, he called it source networking. And I don't know if he got it from a book or something. But it's like going back through your network and the people that you connected to and really, get more out of them, push them to give you referrals, but you got to do the work, give them referrals,
Yeah.
and give each other commitments. So.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I'm going to write this down. Hang on. Let me get my pad. Okay. So what do you think you did, Joe, that helped you have more conversations? So like is looking busier now, is it?
I just the continuing to network and try to develop those.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So you did it. Tick box. I love a good tick box, don't you?
Right.
So
Yes.
satisfying. That's so good. Natasha, what was your thought?
I was just going to say that that's a great thing about networking Joe brought up as well, but thinking about going back over old contacts. It's something I definitely need to do. The thing that I did last week was contact some property stages to find out if they would use my services or not. Some have come back saying, yes, they do buy art online for their clients, but some have come back saying their budgets are so small that they don't think maybe that I should look at interior designers who are making like homes for people, because my work's very bespoke and they feel that, it might be wasted on property staging. So I guess it maybe depends on people's budgets. But yeah, maybe property staging isn't the lucrative market that I thought it might be. I think they probably do just buy quite cheap, fairly off the shelf artwork because, they're decorating it for a month to sell the house. So a couple of them said, why don't you focus more on interior designers who are actually making homes for people or making a hotel, making like long-term designs. They feel my art will be better placed for that. So that was good information. It was now I kind of a little bit clearer about that market. And of course, it makes sense that they don't spend a huge amount on art if they're only selling the property, and the buyer's probably going to take it all down afterwards anyway.
Yeah, 100%. So something that just occurred to me now is, I don't know if you've seen any of these. This is like a window into my psyche. Have you seen any of these interior reality shows where they do that? Like there's like 4 teams and they do 4 different houses. Like, I'm obsessed. I love it. So they go in and they do the different rooms. Are there not companies who do that professionally and keep all the stuff? They keep all of the stuff, so they would invest in good stuff and then take it out.
I did think of something like that ages ago. My friend's a stylist, she works in TV, and I said to her, I didn't think about these interior design shows actually. I was just thinking of TV in general, like EastEnders or something like, just like a show.
Yeah.
No, because they have to decorate their sets, right? So I thought, why not get into TV? But she was like, oh, yeah. So she did, and then it kind of dropped off my radar. But interior design shows could be a really good idea. I'll look into it, see what's on the UK. I know I've got do you know the show Queer Eye with the 4 guys who go and do their makeups and stuff? There's one of them who's an interior designer. So maybe I'll start looking at his stuff. It would be, it'd be amazing to get him with one of those, wouldn't it? But I'll have a little bit of research.
Amazing. Natasha, I think that's your mission. Get your art on Queer Eye.
Okay. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be amazing.
An enormous coup. Like the PR would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean,
why not? give it a go. I'm a
Yeah.
very chatty person, so if
So-
anyone could do it, it's me. I'll just talk the arse off him.
Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness, that's so good. Yeah, so good. I can't remember what the original thing was, but yes, networking, and yes, your actions. So you got the information from your target market on like how they buy, what they buy. Yeah, so good. Scott, what was your action from last week? Remind me. I think you did post it.
So my action was mainly to get into better cadence with the VA that I brought on in order to get more reach outs, get more connections, get more conversations, which that is happening. And I'm liking the cadence, right? To use a analogy, right? If I were playing chess, I'm much better playing black than white. I'm much better being the person who is responding to the first move than making the first move myself. And that's what the VA is doing on my behalf. They're making the first move so that when I get a connection, whatnot, all I have to do is respond to it. So that's been a key learning for me, right? Another thing that, and as I'm going through this and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how do you take the phrase become the CEO of your life, fulfill your purpose while your need for wealth and well-being, how do you make that more punchy, for lack of a better term, right? And so the 2-word phrase that I'm beginning to have a serious think about is professional realignment. So I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in having an entrepreneurial mindset and skill set. I don't necessarily believe that entrepreneurship is the answer for everybody in terms of this is what I do. It's more so how I want people to act, right? And bringing that in terms of a realignment seems to resonate in my head in terms of that's what I'm really trying to drive.
Yeah, that's really good. Love it. Yeah, awesome. Any other thoughts of like what's like the priority for let's look at 3 months, because we do a weekly thing and this is great because it's all about daily stuff. But let's look at like 3 months, 6 months, a year. I love a long view. I love it because it gives us more time and it feels less immediate and urgent. And anything that feels less immediate and urgent, we generally enjoy more, just from my experience. Like it changes it from I have to do this to, oh, this is just what has to happen for me to enjoy this, which feels nicer generally. So let's look at like 12 years, not 12 years, 12 months. Let's look at like next October. What would you love to have? Just, you can like spitball, like put in the chat. You can just think about it. You don't even have to share. Like, what would you love your business? Like if we're sitting here together on this call, what would you like to look back on and be like, I'm so glad that I got here. What does that look like? You might not have the answer now, which is totally fine. But it's a really nice exercise to just sometimes take your mind to, because it allows you to see what you would like today to be like too, weirdly. And I kind of like the single window of one day too. If I'm looking at the 25th of October, 2024, if I have that one day and I'm like, I wake up and I do this, then I do that, then I have a call with this person, then I play with my kids in this way, or whatever it is you do. Because it's like a little snapshot. Instead of like, I've got this much money, I've got this much there, X, I'm doing X, Y, Z. It's more immediate for our brains to notice. So it's a fascinating one. Maybe that can just be something to kind of noodle around on in your brain. Or it might just be today. You might be like, I'm here. I've got everything I want, which is also fantastic.
I will say to your final point that oftentimes I have to remind myself to have gratitude that I'm where I am, and that regardless of what I want still being in the distant horizon, that I get to act today without restrictions in pursuing that. So that's very spot on with.
That's wonderful. I want you to write this down for me, what you just said. I love it so much. Can you remember exactly word for word what you said? I get to
do what I want,
yeah,
towards my bright horizon,
yeah,
without restrictions.
today. Like today I get to do
today.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's so good. Yeah, because you created your life to support that. Mm-hmm. Really nice. Anything else, Natasha? Would
I think mine's not as visionary as Scott's. It's a really good. I'm going to stay with that as well. Scott's really useful, very motivating, inspiring. But I think like I would just simply like a lot of people to be waking up, and looking at my artwork and feeling happy in their spaces, which I know sounds a bit like airy fairy, but that's what I would really love. I'd really love to feel that energy that people have bought my art and they're enjoying it, and that their spaces really are uplifted and improved by it, and they're enjoying my artwork, which is why sometimes I think, like, for me, selling to someone who doesn't really want it is, well, one, it's impossible because people don't buy art if they don't really want it. It's not something that even comes into their radar, and it's too expensive to be a throwaway purchase, so it's really important. Like the whole thing you said about results has really resonated with me, because the result that I really want is for people to really enjoy my artwork and to really enjoy their spaces. So I'm going to be thinking about that in line, and also in line with what Scott said, which I did really find quite inspiring. Scott, thank you.
I love it. Yeah, that's really wonderful. And if I can take it one step further, Natasha, what is your day? Because that's their day. That's your client's day. Oh, hello. Someone there. So hi. That's your client's day. Oh, hi. Oh, you're on mute. Anyway. Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
That's all right.
It's morning time, so it's just a bit chaotic.
Well familiar with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's your client's day. Your clients wake up in a beautiful hotel room and look at the art and they're like, oh, or your individual client looks at your art and is inspired. But your Natasha's day, I want you to think about how you wake up. What does that look like, or what does it feel like, and what do you do? Those are really good prompts. Is it the same as today? Is it different than today? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I think my future I do see is different, just because I think at the moment, obviously, I'm just kind of still starting out, so I would hope to have a more active day in my business. I think so, more active, be actively, following up with people who maybe just had a delivery. Maybe I'm talking to a couple of new clients, and I've got really some nice presentations. Maybe I would really love, and I guess this is why I'm in this group, because it's for high ticket sales. I would love some commissions. I'd love people to commission me and say, here's £1,000. I need 2 pieces of artwork, or 1 piece of, a really original piece that you're not going to sell to anybody else. And So that's where I would love to be.
Yes, I love it. The more specific we are with our brains, because our brains don't actually know the difference, which is really good news for us. Have you ever had this when you walk through the steps of something in your mind, like mentally, you're like, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to talk to that person, and then I'm going to like do the presentation, then I'll probably have something to eat. Like we mentally rehearse things. Sometimes we mentally rehearse them the other way. It's going to be terrible. I'm going to miss the train. I'm going to spill coffee, and then it's all going to go to shit. Usually we rehearse the other way. But when you mentally rehearse, because your brain actually doesn't know the difference, this is so fascinating. So when we mentally rehearse our favorite, best, most wonderful day over and over again and start doing little bits of it today, our brain gets on board super quick. So some people call it law of attraction, some people call it manifestation, some people call it whatever, whatnot. It's actually scientific. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory and today. It's bizarre. So the more you can give it inputs, sensory input as well. What does it feel like? How do I wake up? How do I feel? What do I see? What do I touch? It's really, really interesting. The brain just gets on board very quickly and it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. It's very easy now. We know what we're doing. I need some more commissions. Probably have to go and talk to this person, say this. It just becomes a lot simpler than staying in the like, oh, how do I do that? It's really, really interesting work. So yeah, I love to do this. Like, I don't do it every day by any stretch, but maybe like once a month. Really like going back into like, oh, okay. Future Meg doesn't say stuff like that or react like this because she's working on other stuff. Does that make sense?
I think it could be a good exercise for like every Monday morning for me. That would be probably like a really good way to kick off the week,
Yeah.
just with some, and also with kind of combined with what Scott said as well, like just this whole, like without restrictions.
Yeah, without restrictions was my like favorite part. Like, yeah, it's playtime. It's fun. Oh, bro. Before we wrap up, do you want to just go around and say anything that you want to do this week? Anything that is like a main focus or a main priority? Or you can feel free to share in the classroom after. It's not a...
I'm going to go and contact interior designers and maybe contact a couple more property stages just to finish that off, to really clear that out, to see if it is yes or no. Contact more holistic interior designers to try and find out how I can work with them. I'm thinking also, do you think I should offer some key interior designers like a free print, send them so they can see the quality of the products? Do you think it's worth it?
What do you think?
Do you think it's too early? I think it'd be difficult for me to judge which ones I should send them a free print because there are so many. But maybe a couple if I'm getting very close to a maybe then buying. Do you think it would be worth it? The prints are really beautiful quality, so I'm quite proud of the quality. I want people to see them.
How much would it cost you to do that, do you think, in money?
So I'll have to work it out. Yeah. But not a huge amount. It would be doable, maybe for like 5 key designs.
Yeah, why not? Nice, thank you. Joe, anything you want to focus on this week?
I think I need to get my processes down and get more formal as to my how I'm gonna follow up with all the people I've networked with and how I'm gonna make that work. I need to get that more formalized so that I know what I'm doing. So like, in order to make it recurring, so whether it be like a month after I've had a one-on-one with them to touch base with them.
2 weeks. 1 week. shorter time frame.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks maybe. It's totally up to you, but like top of mind is top of mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can keep them warm, like check in monthly, but straight after you meet, keep the time frame shorter. It's more, you're more memorable instantaneously because they just got off a call with you. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Scott, any specific focus for you? What's your priority this week?
Well, 2 hours from now, I hope to have landed a client. So I'll just start there and then roll from that from the rest of the day. But just keep driving the train, right? All the momentum on the non-financial metrics, that's all pointing in the right direction. But now it's about landing planes.
Land the planes. So will you share in the group the outcome? I would really love for you to follow up after this and share in the school community.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you
will
so
do.
much.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. It's been so much. It's been a really wonderful call. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week. There's a time change next week, so British time is going to be 1 hour earlier. That's correct. There's no one else in the UK here, so I don't know who I'm asking apart from myself.
Yeah, so it turns because I looked at this. So it turns into, for me on the east coast of the US, 8 a.m. our time, right? But
And it
we
changes.
then fall back
Mhm.
the following weekend. So we will then move back to 7 a.m.
Got you. So you're going to have 1 week of funniness. Yes.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. All right. Hopefully we'll just reschedule you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Take care.
Bye.